Hello, everyone. This is a long-awaited podcast for me. It's been about 12 months since I've embarked on a journey of self-reflection, and I've decided to become a self-development and a lifestyle and accountability coach for men who are struggling with destructive lifestyles, party scene, drink and drugs, stuff like that. So this is my podcast called the Hex Effect, and it's in connection with my framework, my coaching framework, which is the Progress Hex. The 6 steps to success, basically. And then success in people's lives is gonna be different. Your version of success is gonna be different to my version of success. If yours is a monetary value, that's fine, as long as you're not stomping on other people to get there. Having a monetary goal and seeing yourself as successful from a monetary perspective, that's okay, as long as you took the right steps to get there. Stamping on people, treading on people to get to where you want to go. That isn't what the Progress Hacks message is, and it's not what it's going to be moving forward. So my message to everyone out there is it's collaboration. Collaboration will get us through in terms of community, social wise. We're in unprecedented times at the moment, and with the amount of male suicide rates that are going up, loneliness is creeping in, people's relationships are struggling, men are struggling to build relationships, people are struggling with attention spans and stuff like that. So it's a huge social and economical problem, the way things are going at the moment. So I've designed a 6-step framework that helped me get out of a destructive lifestyle. I was partying too much. I was taking drugs. I was causing problems with my relationships, my mum, my family, my close friends. Um, and I was basically on a destructive path. I had a good job. I've always had money. I've always worked hard, but I felt that I couldn't reach out. I didn't think I had as big of a problem as I did. So my podcast is designed to help people overcome their problems, try and help them put perspective into their life, what they're trying to achieve. Goal setting, accountability is a huge part of it, and working with others to get basically a good outcome. When I say a good outcome, what I mean is to try and determine what success looks like for you. Is it having a nice house and a nice car? Is it just being able to go to work and come home and sit and put your feet up? Get to the gym, a few meetings with close friends. Is it getting to a book club? Is it playing chess? With your friends and stuff like that. So it's a huge. I wouldn't say a problem, but it's a huge issue for people to sit down and think, what do I actually want from my life? Where is my life going? You'll get collaborating. You'll get you'll get conflicting opinions on this. This is just my opinion. This is the way I help myself out of a destructive nature. So, Noel Gallagher mentioned the other day that no, you shouldn't have goals. You should just enjoy the destination. But everyone has to be striving for something. You've got to be striving for something, because if you're not, you're just drifting around aimlessly. That enjoying the destination is a huge part of it. But if you don't know what that destination is, then choosing the right path to take becomes confusing, which is what I found. A lot of this is just it's my opinion, and it's just coming from a good place someone who did struggle with a destructive lifestyle. I struggled with relationships. Um, I changed probably before my daughter was born, but up until that point, I was close to losing my wife. My relationship with my mum was strained. I don't think my sister and my brother knew the full extent of my mental health, which wasn't their fault, nobody's fault. Um, it was my own shortcomings. So I decided to go on a journey of self development. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of self reflection this past 2 or 3 years, and I'm one of the lucky ones that have come out the other end with a plan, with a second chance at achieving something with my life. I've got I've got multiple businesses. I've had failed businesses. I got back on the horse pretty much straight away, and my one of my mantras is you can't let what other people think get to you. It's absolutely demonic, the amount of stuff that I see of, "Oh, well, he thinks I might fail or she thinks I might fail. My mum doesn't believe in me," or, "My friends don't think this is a great idea." It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Essentially, the decision comes down to you. Obviously, you don't wanna make too many bad decisions, with money, with friendships, relationships. You do wanna get some advice from people that have been in your position. I get that. But there's also there's a line in the sand sometimes where you have to say to the person around you're telling me I'm not gonna achieve this, but I'm saying I'm gonna do it, and you're gonna go out there and do it, and you're gonna make it happen. There's lots of good podcasts out there. There's lots of good advice out there. Alex Hormozy's dishing out massive, massive advice. Lots of stuff, not just Alex Hormozy. There's a lot of them. Chris Williamson's doing a lot for men's mental health as well. You could go on forever. Joe Rogan's some of his stuff's a bit controversial, but it's stuff that he's speaking to is honest. So my podcast is called the Hex Effect, and I'm gonna be interviewing people over the course of the next 2, maybe 3 years, and this is going to be my lifestyle now. Is trying to help people succeed, trying to help people with their accountability, goal setting, and this is what my new purpose is. So I'm going to explain that today. I'm going to explain what the 6 steps of Hex are. I'm going to explain how it can help you, how it can help your family members if you feel someone's struggling, and just believe that people can succeed. It's collaboration's a huge thing. Collaborating with your fellow man, for me, it's got to be one of the biggest things that we as a species have to learn to do. Just helping people up. If you're struggling yourself, I get it. It's not as easy to dish out help, but you'll find that if you're struggling yourself and you start to help others, it all comes back around, and eventually the help will come. So you've got to stand on your own 2 feet. You've got to self-develop. You've got to develop yourself in ways that if you want to change, it's not what you used to. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to get out of, I can't do this. People are telling me I can't do this. It's absolutely imperative that you start with yourself. You start with, how am I going to change? How am I going to put myself in better positions? If I'm not happy with my life, what can I change? The people I'm hanging around with, who can I change? Who is going to help me in this path to where I want to get to? And sometimes you might have to make some ruthless decisions in your life. You have to say, the people I'm actually hanging around with at the moment, the things I'm doing, they're not benefiting me. They're not benefiting my mental health. They're not benefiting my pocket. They're not benefiting me in ways where I'm trying to succeed. And then comparing yourself to others is an absolute no-no in my opinion. They've got a nice big car. They've got a nice big house. They must be doing better than me. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. And then sometimes you see things and you think, wow, I thought they had a lot of money, and next minute they're bankrupt. Or I thought he was doing really well. I didn't realize that his wife had just passed away or something like that. You can never know what's going on in other people's heads. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you realize it's all about you and how you and your relationships with other people fare. And I'm not saying it's all about you in a selfish way. Oh, it's all about stick out for number one, tread on everyone else to get to where you're going. That's not what I mean. But it's a case of put your own mask on first before you're helping others. Yeah. So you've got to get to a point where you can respect yourself in a certain way. You've got self-respect. You've got self-belief. You've got self-confidence. It's imperative that you get that down to a T before you start, going out of your way to help other people. Got to get yourself ready first. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I'm going to explain the 6 steps now of how I see them, how it can help people. And the 6 steps of Hex was what helped me become an Ironman. I'm a 2-time Ironman. I got multiple businesses. I have a beautiful family, and I'm very thankful for the last 2 or 3 years of my self-development. I'm thankful for some of the mistakes that I've made in life because I've learned from them. I'm thankful for the journey that I'm on, basically. It's been tough. It's been really tough. I've not known who to turn to. I've had people there that I can lean on, and I chose not to. It's probably a classic thing to say about, obviously, men's mental health and stuff like that we don't feel that we have anywhere to turn to, and we don't feel that we can speak to people. Why is that? Why don't we have the confidence? We have the confidence in when we're out with our mates and we're having a laugh and we're having banter, but secretly it's harder for males to speak to each other. It's just from the stats, it's easier for men to, not easier for men, but it seems as if it's more apparent for men to sit in silence and not reach out to people. Maybe that's through lack of purpose. Maybe that's through lack of direction. But I'm really, really going to do my best to try and help the situation. I'm going to do my best to try and help as many men as I can. And I'm hoping that my 6-step Progress Hex framework will be able to do that. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to run through the framework now. This is a framework that's helped me achieve massive amounts in my own life. Past 2 or 3 years, I've made leaps and bounds from where I was mentally. I'm much tougher now. I set goals. I achieve those goals. Sometimes I don't think that they're big enough, but that's something that I'm going to be working on. So the first step and the first stage in my Progress Hex journey is inspiration. It's inspiration and goal setting. You'll get a lot of conflicting information on this from other people in terms of goal setting and stuff like that. But as far as I'm concerned, you need something to aim for. No matter how small it is. It could be just aiming to get out of bed at a certain time of the day, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. You might be struggling. You have to have a goal. You've got to have a goal, no matter how small it is. If your goal is to get to the gym 5 times a week, your goal is to read 20 books this year, if you're struggling, it might be just to get up, get to the shop, put your shoes on, get out there and get some fresh air, because I know a lot of people are struggling. You can't go through the day without having a goal. Putting one foot in front of the other is a goal. You just don't, that's just an automatic goal. You don't have to have a goal to walk from one end of the room to the other. You just know that's going to happen. You know how to walk. Your goal is to get from one end of the room to the other. And that's a simplified version of it. If you want to, whatever you want to achieve, you have to be able to see the outcome. If someone wants to climb to Mount Everest, but they don't envisage themselves climbing to the top of Mount Everest, then you're never going to get there. Because the first step is thinking about getting to the top of that mountain. And then you'd break it down into a load of small steps. Right, I need to book my trip to wherever. I've got to go to the bottom of the mountain first and then work my way up from there. So if we use a mountain as an analogy, you need to be able to see, you need to be able to envisage what the top of the mountains looks like. But is that right though? Is it fucking right? Probably not. Yeah, so you've got, there's always going to be a top of a mountain. There's always going to be a top of a mountain. And it's the steps that you take to get to the top of the mountain that are important. You can have a lot of mini goals inside of your main goal, but the main goal to get to the top of that mountain is to envisage yourself sitting on the top of the mountain. What does it look like when I achieve this goal? What's it going to mean to me? All right, I can't leap from the first step to the top of the mountain straight away. What steps do I need to put into place to get me to that goal? To get me from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. What you don't want to do is get to the top of the mountain and feel like you've wasted all that time climbing the wrong mountain. So there's a bit of a metaphor in there. You don't want to be climbing the wrong mountain. When you get there, you realize it wasn't really what you wanted. So being realistic with your goals. What does the goal mean to you? Why do you want this goal? Do you want the goal of buying a new car because Mrs. Jones down the road's got a new car? You know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but the first stage in Progress Hex is goal setting and inspiration. You've got to be inspired by your family, your friends, people around you. You know, if someone's done something in business that you think that you could replicate, or go for it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't go for it. You can go for it. Don't let the naysayers say otherwise. They will always run your dreams down. They will always run your hopes. Don't let people run you down. If you want to do something, you go out there and do it. I have self-belief in anybody that has the guts to put themselves out there, to step in front of people, to step in front of themselves and say, yeah, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to achieve what I set out to achieve. So goal setting and inspiration is the first step. And it's a very important step for me. If I was a coach and I was working with someone, we'd work on what the goal is and then how to get there. And be inspired by those around you. If you could see someone helping someone out in a supermarket. You could see a teacher or a university lecturer. You could see someone at the football pitch that's working harder than most. That's inspiration. Inspiration doesn't come from 15, 20,000 pound watches that people can't afford. That isn't inspiration. That's envy. And envy isn't good. So if you want a 20,000 pound watch, yeah, that's great, but you have to work for it. Don't be envious of people that have got it. Work hard yourself to get it. But then if you're worshipping somebody that's just bought a 20,000 pound Rolex on finance and they can't afford it, can't afford their house, they can't afford their mortgage, then that isn't real inspiration. Real inspiration comes from people, everyday people that are working for the community to help people socially, to lift people up. That's where real inspiration comes from, in my opinion. So inspiration and goal setting is the first step. Step 2, stage 2 on the Progress Hack journey is commitment. So you have to commit to the goal. You've set the goal and you want to go to 30 Spanish lessons this year. You want to do 2 a month. Talking about the goal and going to tell people, yeah, this is what I want to do, isn't going out and committing to the goal. You're there telling everyone who listen, yeah, I'm going to do this year and I'm going to do that this year and I'm going to climb this mountain and I'm going to do this. But it's not commitment. Saying things are easy. People walk the walk, people talk the talk. The people that talk the talk, they get found out. Eventually, their friends and family stop believing in them. Lies. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Doesn't materialize. The best way to get respect from your peers and from people around you, your work colleagues, your family, your friends, is to be that person that says they're going to do, like what they're going to do. They're going to do it. They set out to do what they're going to do, and it's a huge, huge push for your own self development. If you say, right, actually, I'm going to achieve this week, this month, this year, and you go out and you set out and you do achieve that. You might fall short, but you can reevaluate the goal. At least you had a goal, yeah, and committing to that goal is the next step. So if you've got 30 Spanish lessons that you want to attend, I want to speak Spanish. Wow, it's all well and good saying, yeah, I want to speak Spanish. It's not going to happen until you ring the Spanish teacher or you look at a Spanish class online. You press the hit button. Yeah, I'm going to pay for 30 Spanish lessons. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to them Spanish lessons. Commitment is the second stage. And it's a very important aspect that you go from actually talking the talk to walking the walk. So back to the Spanish analogy, you're going to book your 30 Spanish lessons and you've spoke to the Spanish tutor and he's telling you, yeah, 6 o'clock every Wednesday, come down to the local theatre and we have our Spanish classes there. That's commitment. You're paying for something. You're putting something down on paper. You're telling yourself that you're going to do it. You're believing in yourself. Someone says, oh, are you speaking Spanish? You don't even go over to Spain or, what do you need to learn Spanish for? For all they know, you might have met a Spanish girl that you're keen on. People don't know what's going on. Don't let the naysayers stop you from doing what you want to do. So commitment is number 2. You've committed to having 30 Spanish lessons and you've gone out there and you've booked the lessons, you've paid for them. That's your commitment. And it's a good place to start. Step 3 is planning. So you've been inspired by meeting your Spanish girlfriend. You've committed to the process by going out and booking the Spanish lessons in a tapas restaurant up the road or something like that. Anything can happen. It's all about then, once you've committed, working out what the plan is to fully develop yourself to become fluent in Spanish, or you want to become, you want to be able to drive a motorbike or ride a motorbike. You want to be, going on the trails on a motorbike, or it can be absolutely anything that you commit to. But once you've committed to it, you need a plan to then carry that out. You need a plan to how you're going to get from step to step. And that comes with writing stuff down, journaling, working out, talking to people. How am I going to carry out these, 30 Spanish lessons? The plan might come from your tutor. You have a Spanish tutor. He will put into place your curriculum for the next 12 months. That's a plan. You go to the gym. When you walk through the door of the gym, it's, what am I going to do in the gym today in order to make me feel like I've had a good workout? If you was to just walk into the gym and just start going on random machines bit by bit, eventually you're going to get bored because you don't have a plan in place. You don't have a plan in place to get you to the next stage. You want to build muscle, right? How am I going to build muscle? Where do you want to build muscle? I want to build muscle on my arms. I want to build muscle on my legs. If you want to build muscle on your legs, it's no good doing shoulder presses every day. It's no good doing 300 sit-ups because you want to build muscle on your legs. You've got to have a plan to what you want to carry out. Sometimes it can be as simple as writing it down. speaking to a personal trainer that's part of the gym, how are you going to carry out losing weight? I want to lose weight. How are you going to carry out losing weight? How are you going to plan to do that? I'm even confused now, thinking, how do you even achieve anything without a plan? It's absolutely crazy to go into anything without the plan. Might not be perfect, but you've got to have something down on paper to say, right, the small steps. How am I going to get from step A to step B? How am I going to get from B to C? It all comes with doing, it all comes with action, and it all comes with planning. Progress hacks, a one-to-one session. We have one-to-one sessions, and I work through these steps with people. I help them understand where they are in the process, step 6-step process. Some people think they're at step 4, step 5, and others should be at step 2 or step 1, but they're at step 3 and 4, and they can't make sense of why they're not achieving, because they're not putting the stages into the right order. Some people are at step 5 and step 6. They need to be at step 1 and 2. Some people are at step 1 and 2, and they've got this paralysis of not being able to move forward. They know what they should be doing, but they don't know how to put it into context, and they don't know how to articulate the fact that, right, I've done the first 2 stages. How do I move on to stage 3? Sometimes they might need a coach to help them with that. Sometimes they might need a friend to say, well, actually, yeah, is this working? Is it not working? So step 3 is planning. You have to have a robust plan. Doesn't necessarily have to be a plan to get to the end destination, but a plan of how you're going to make it through to the next stage of your journey. So planning is massive. Without a plan, you're just going to go around in circles. I think it was Warren Buffett said, an idiot with a plan will be a smart person without one. I think it was Warren Buffett, and it might not be the exact quote, but an idiot with a plan will always outsmart somebody that's smarter and they don't have a plan. So that's a bit of food for thought there. I think it was Warren Buffett. If anyone can correct me on that, that'd be handy. But I'm pretty sure it was Warren Buffett who said that. So stage 3 is planning. You got to have a robust plan to make sure you're on the right path. Things change, paths change, but you don't know. And there's another great saying: until you know what port you sail, then no wind is favourable. I'm not sure if that was Seneca. I think that's been attributed to Seneca. But if you know not what port you sail, then no wind is favourable. And what that means is, if you don't pick your destination, then it doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. You're not going to know which way to set your sail. So that's literally, that's going back to step 1, really, goal setting and inspiration. But it's really relevant. If you don't know where you're going and where you're setting your sail for, it doesn't matter which way the wind comes from. You're just going to end up drifting around in circles. So step 3 is planning. Have a robust plan. Break it down into stages, sections, and work out how you're going to make yourself feel accountable to your progress moving forward. So I hope that makes sense. Step 4 is consistency. You're doing really well getting to stage 1, 2, 3. You've had this little bit of self-belief. You've turned the corner of January. You've started setting some goals. You've committed to them goals. You start putting a plan in place. It's no good having a plan if you're not going to carry it out. It doesn't have to be to the letter. Things change. Your weight in the gym might go, you get bigger. At first you might have been lifting 50 kilos. The plan was to lift 50 kilos. And then the plan is to move on to 70 kilos. So the plan can always change. But with step 4, consistency, it's about turning up on time for what you want to do. So you've set out your plan to hit the gym 5 times this week, to go for a walk around the block, to walk the dog 5 times, to get to your Spanish lessons. You've set out a plan. I have 30 Spanish lessons. I've set them out. I'm now going to be consistent with that plan. I'm going to go to my 2 sessions a week for the next 10 weeks or whatever, or however many sessions that you've got. So consistency will win the day. That if you want to achieve your goal of becoming a fluent Spanish teacher or Spanish speaker, those 30 lessons, to get the best out of them 30 lessons, you need to be consistent with the plan. So the plan is, right, we're going to do this today. We're going to book the 30 lessons. We've had them booked, and now we're going to be consistent. You know, if you miss a session in the gym, if you miss a Spanish session, if you miss a session, a walking session, or anything, don't be too hard on yourself. Just get back on the horse and dust yourself off and say, right, it wasn't the best week. It wasn't the best morning. It wasn't the best day. Don't beat yourself up and then miss the day, next day, and the next day, the next week, and the next week. And then before you know it, you say to yourself, right, you know, I've missed 3 or 4 weeks now. I'm not going to achieve this. And then you just give up. Being consistent is a major, major factor in your development, a major, major factor in your commitment to yourself and your commitment to the goal. You know, consistency is massive. You complete what you set out to do is basically where the consistency comes in. I'm going to hit my target of going to the gym so many times this year. Consistency wins the day. Boom, 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 boom. You hit your 5 sessions a week. You might have a blip where you miss a week or you miss a couple of days. You're ill. Don't be too hard on yourself. Get back. Get the consistency back. Slowly but surely, right, you go back to your 3 sessions a week. You go to your 5 sessions a week. Be clear on what the plan is and then carry it out to the letter. That is the best way for success, to be consistent with the plan. Your plan might be to do 1,000 miles on your motorbike around, national parks, stuff like that. You go green lane and stuff like that. Your plan might be to get on your bike for, 100 hours a year. That's an hour a week. Something like that. Be consistent with your effort. Once you start missing days and missing weeks and missing months, you start giving up on yourself as being committed to that goal. So the goal is very important, but the consistency, likewise, you need to be carrying out that plan to a consistent level. So you work on the plan and you've got it nailed down, and then you hit your consistency levels day after day after day after day after day after day after day. You might not feel like you're getting results after 3 months. Stay consistent. You look to 6 months and you gain a little bit of momentum. You gain a little bit of confidence. You're seeing a change in your body if you go into the gym. You're seeing a change in your attitude if you're meeting people from a book club or you're volunteering, and you feel, well, I'm not really seeing the benefit of this. You've been to 20 sessions. Go to 40 sessions. Be consistent with the sessions. Consistency is a huge, huge part of success. And the more you carry out what you've decided to do, the better it will be for you in the long run. Overnight successes don't happen overnight. I know that it's a bit of a paradox, but it takes 5 to 10 years to become an overnight success. And that's 5 to 10 years of consistency. You might be a business owner. You might not be seeing results. You might be a footballer who's not seeing results. Are you training hard enough? Are you going to enough sessions? Are you working out after the training sessions? Being consistent with what you want from life is massive. It's massive, in my opinion. And if you set out to do something and you're not getting results after a month, you're not getting results after 2 months, don't give up. Stay consistent. Stay in the game. Keep enough skin in the game to basically, not give up. Give yourself as many chances to not give up as you can. Because that one day when something clicks, you'll think, wow, I'm so glad I stuck with this. I play the guitar. I play the piano. I'm a fairly good guitar player, and I'm learning piano. And what I'm what I'm getting frustrated with in piano now is the lack of progress. But then when I think back to when I started playing the guitar, I had the same feeling. I had the same feeling of I'm not progressing fast enough. I'm going to give up. But I stuck with the guitar, and now I can play it, quite well. I'm not a great guitarist, but I can play songs that resonate with me. I enjoy the process. And at the moment, I'm playing piano, and I'm in that same thought pattern where I was with guitar, because in all honesty, piano is a bit harder for me personally to play. But I'm in that position now where I'm saying to myself, you've had 50 lessons. You don't seem to be progressing. And then I had 2 or 3 more lessons, and I practiced a little bit more. I was consistent with my lessons. I felt myself growing. I felt myself being a more capable piano player. So if I'd have quit after that 2 or 3 months or 50 lessons, then sometimes it might be the next lesson or the lesson after that. You've got to stay consistent with your plan, because you never know what's on the horizon for you. You never know what that next lesson might hold, that next hour of practice, how you've progressed with that next hour of practice. So it's really important that you do stay consistent. Stage 4 is consistency, and you've got to be carrying out your plan consistently, day after day after day, month after month, week after week, year after year. That's what it takes. Don't give up. Set out your goal and do not give up on it. Okay? So I'd just like to take this chance to thank my sponsor, Progress Talks. Progress Talks is a men's mental health charity, and what we do is we help men in the community come out and talk to each other. We do counsel work. We help men in the community talk to each other. We help community groups in local parks, in local, the local community, and we get groups of males to come out and help, ease the burden of loneliness, ease the burden of not being able to rely on people, and not feeling like you've got any friends. So we try and help ease that burden. So I'd like to thank my sponsor, Progress Talks, for sponsoring this podcast. And it's doing our bit for men's mental health. So now back to it. And stage 5 is discipline. So stage 5 in the process is discipline. And what discipline means to me personally, it runs alongside consistency. You can go to as many sessions as you feel possible in your chosen goal or your chosen, challenge. But discipline is to me the getting out of bed on the tough mornings, or the getting out on the road when it's raining, the getting to the gym when you've been up all night because your family haven't been well, or your daughter or your son's not been well, or your wife. It's the discipline comes in to it when every inch and every ounce of you doesn't want to do something that day. I can't get to the gym. I can't get out to walk the dog. I can't even get out of bed because, I'm struggling. The discipline comes in order for you to be consistent to carry out that goal. Yeah. So the hardest part, the hardest push in the gym is pushing the front door. That's the saying. If it's not, I just made it up now. But the hardest weight to push is the weight of the front door in the gym, or even the door to get out your house. And that's where the discipline comes in. On the cold mornings, on the times where you don't feel 100%, you're tired after you've got home from work. You've had a tough day in work, and you don't want to go to your Spanish lesson because, something's happened. The discipline comes in when you're believing in yourself that you're going to actually carry out what you're doing consistently. And the discipline is really the nitty gritty to how you feel. We all have our days where we don't feel like doing what we want to do. We don't feel like going to the gym. We don't feel like going for a swim. We don't feel like going out to walk the dog. We don't feel like going to our friends because you've had a tough day in work. But discipline comes in and you say to yourself, right, tomorrow will be better. But today I'm going to have to dig in a little bit deeper. I'm going to have to dig into my psyche that little bit deeper because I want to go to the gym. I know how good it feels when I get there. I know how good it feels when I go out to my volunteering class or my book club to meet, my chess friends, or it can be anything. You have to have that. You have to have that discipline for progress, and it all stems from your initial goal. You got to be clear on that. So the discipline, I suppose, in a nutshell, is doing the work when you really feel like you don't want to. Everything against you, the wind, the weather, the people, the naysayers, people saying you can't do it. The discipline comes in when you actually say to yourself, yeah, it's not going to be easy today. It might not be enjoyable, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's where discipline comes in. So I suppose number 6, finally coming towards wrapping it up. It's been great to have everyone here, and hopefully my message is clear. Love some great feedback if I can on the message. Is it clear? Are we too clouded in what we're trying to say? But no, it's been really good to get this first session under my belt. So I suppose stage 6 is it's opportunity and luck. The more opportunity you see out there, the luckier you're going to be. People will say that the same people will say that you can't achieve something. The same people will say that when you achieve it, that you're lucky. You've got to make sure that it's on your terms, and how other people perceive you is none of your business, basically. And you've just got to stay in your own personal mindset to not let other people bother you. Because at the start, they're going to tell you can't do it. And at the end, they're going to tell you that you're lucky. So they don't see this blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. So putting yourself in good opportunities, understanding opportunities when they come across, like they say opportunity knocks. Does opportunity knock? Sometimes it goes past in a whisper. And in order to see the opportunity, you have to listen to your inner voice and say, is that an opportunity? Should I take that opportunity? Should I go on a Spanish course because I've seen a Spanish poster on a wall, or what? The opportunities are all around us. And the more you put yourself in good opportunities, the luckier you'll become. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I believe it's true, but it's not necessarily luck. You're working hard to put yourself in positions that other people aren't prepared to do. If you're prepared to do that, you're going to get a better opportunity at life. You're going to get successful breaks. You're going to get lucky breaks. You're working harder. Sometimes people might get a bigger break than you, but your time will come. And if you're putting yourself in positions, if someone does 200 hours of training and someone else does 10 hours of the same training, you're going to get much more opportunity to learn, to see opportunity in them 200 hours than somebody who's carried it out for 10. It's being there for yourself for the long game. Stay in the long game. Things don't happen overnight. Self-made millionaires doesn't happen overnight. You know, if you're doing 200 hours of training and you've got somebody who's doing 10 hours, you're gonna get more opportunity. You're gonna see more value. You're gonna get luckier. In a sense that you might come across more books that will help you progress than somebody who's doing it for 10 hours. A footballer that does 200 hours of training is going to have more opportunity than somebody who does 10 hours of training. Right? Someone who does 10 hours of training, they might be a phenomenal footballer. They might be gifted, but that doesn't come along for everyone. That is just a one in a million. The two similar footballers that are on a level playing field with each other. One of them does 200 hours of training, the other does 10 hours of training. The one that does 200 hours is going to get noticed more. They're going to build their confidence more. They're going to get noticed by scouts. They're going to get noticed by others, other players, other teammates because they're putting in the work. And then at the end of it, the person who did the footballer who did 10 hours, he might say, "Oh well, you've managed to get yourself signed up to a club. You're lucky you are." No, they're not lucky. They've worked harder than you. Yeah, they're not lucky. They've made the breaks for themselves. They've created their own opportunities. That isn't luck. It's putting yourself in good positions to get the best out of what you want from life. I'm confusing myself here a little bit. I'm hoping that the message isn't too confusing for people. It'd be a good thing to get some feedback on this because I am talking a lot and I understand that. I understand the process, and I'm just hoping that you do too. So this is my first podcast, something to build on. I'm going to be consistent for the next 12 months, 2 years. My goal this year to get out 100 podcasts. So I'm hoping that we can do that. So stage 6 is opportunity and luck. The more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities you're going to get to basically be lucky and hit that luck. So I hope that makes sense. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. So the 6 steps of progress hacks over the next few months, we're going to be talking about stages 1 to 6. I'm going to be interviewing some people on step 1 to 3, some maybe on step 4, 5, and 6. I don't know yet, but hopefully it becomes clearer of the message. So the message I'm trying to help out is I was struggling. I struggled with mental health. I struggled with drink. Struggled with drugs, and I didn't know how to put into place the steps for me to get a good outcome from life and what I wanted to achieve. Success to you might be different to success. Yeah, don't compare yourself to others. That's a major no. And if you can start with a bit of self belief and go from there. And the 6 stages of progress hacks: inspiration and goal setting, commitment, planning, consistency, discipline, and number 6 is luck and opportunity. Step 1 is inspiration and goal setting. Step 2 is commitment. Step 3 is planning. Step 4 is consistency. Step 5 is discipline. And step 6 is opportunity and luck. So I hope that makes sense. If anyone wants to reach out, my Progress Hack website is just being designed. I'm on Facebook. You can find me, Progress Hacks, on Facebook. My name's Dean Billingsley. I'm a 2-time Ironman. I have multiple businesses. I have nephews, family, and friends who I am trying to help with my message. And yeah, thanks for listening. It's been an emotional journey for me. It's going to be one of love. It's going to be one of passion. It's going to be one of dreams, and it's going to be one of progress hacks and the 6 steps to success. So all the best, everyone. Thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks to the sponsors, Progress Talks, in aid of men's mental health. We are doing some charity events this year. I'm actually running 5K every day this year for charity. And yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. It's been exciting for me to get this first one out the way. And we have some exciting guests coming up to sit across the table from me. both sides in some cases. We had major issues setting up the podcast studio. I'm still not 100% sure on the lighting and stuff like that, but maybe it's a little bit dark. But that again, that's something to work on. That's something for me to get better at. And I am here to try and help people succeed. What success looks like to you, we can work on getting you to be in a better place, getting the community, lifting community spirits, lifting societal norms, expectations. I'm here to help you. No matter what you want to achieve, I can help you achieve it. So thanks for listening. Progress Hex is coming in a big way, and it's the Hex Effect podcast is going to be a regular podcast now from now on. So all the best, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Take care.